Hi, my name is Davey Shafik, and I am here talking to Samantha, who is one of our speakers at Distill. So the first question I have for you, Samantha, is how do you say your last name?
It's pronounced Quiñones.
Quinones. Okay, and I know I've asked you that like a dozen times before, but it's a difficult one for me. Um, so as I mentioned, you are a speaker at Distill, and you work for Politico, right?
That's correct.
And what do you do at Politico?
I am a lead developer here. So I have a team of developers. We're working on a product called the Press Pass platform,
Okay.
which is a content management and delivery platform for the organization.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I've seen some other stuff come up recently in the news about sort of press platforms and CMSs and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So what's it like working for such an influential organization? I mean, Politico sort of burst onto the scene very, very quickly and is now a very formidable force in kind of the area that it works in. So what's it like working for such pretty cool company?
Yeah, it's actually really very exciting. The people that work in our editorial staff are they're kind of among the best and brightest in journalism today. So it's really fun to just have access to people like that. And the energy here is it's very, very high. It's very entrepreneurial. There's always the people here really, really care a lot about the stories that they're telling. So it's awesome to kind of have the opportunity to enable them to do a better job of telling that story to more and more people.
That's cool. So you describe yourself as a process nerd. What does that mean exactly?
Right. So I kind of came out of enterprise software development. I used to work for a very large financial services firm for the majority of my early career, and I really learned the value of understanding not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it. So I really I guess there's been a recent kind of revolution in the idea of like DevOps, but that idea of having automation, having processes that developers and management can understand, makes it easier to communicate. It makes it easier to measure. It makes it easier for us as developers to remind the people that pay our checks that we're not just a money black hole, that there is some value that we're delivering. So that's what I mean by
that. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Distill now. You're presenting a talk titled Designing Modern Service Architectures, which is about service-oriented architecture. So what's the tweetable description of what SOA is?
The tweetable description. So SOA is a method of designing complex systems out of I don't know if I'm going to be under 440 characters here, but designing complex systems out of small, reusable, standalone components.
Okay. So basically, I mean, I do a lot of SOA stuff as well, and it's creating discrete units of logic and service that make sense and combining them into larger systems.
Right.
Typically through the use of web services. That's cool. It's definitely a topic that I love. It's one I've been sort of proselytizing for a number of years now, and even probably before it had the name SOA. It just seems like a smart way to go. So why do you want to speak about SOA? I mean, what is it that you do that you enjoy about it? What brings you to the subject?
Well, I mean, for the kind of platform that we have at Politico, where we're a fairly high traffic site, but our traffic can spike tremendously based on news events or for us especially elections, and being able to respond to those kinds of unpredictable traffic events is very, very difficult. So from an architectural standpoint, when we started designing this new platform, one of our principal goals was to kind of create a system that could respond to those events, but that wouldn't cost a fortune. And combining SOA principles with kind of the low cost scalability of sort of the cloud infrastructures that exist now really lets you have a system that changes size based on minute-to-minute demands. So it's kind of a new area. We've taken a lot of inspiration from stuff that Netflix has done, and some of the other people in the publishing space have done. And I think it's something that actually can apply even to smaller websites and smaller platforms, where maybe even infrastructure and bandwidth costs are more important.
Right. That's really cool. So what are you most looking forward to at Distill? I mean, obviously not everything that's happening has been announced yet. So I think there's some other stuff that you don't know about yet that you'll be really happy with. But
I love any chance that I have to be around other people in the industry, and there's going to be a lot of very talented engineers and people who work with engineers at Distill, and coming away from things like that kind of leaves you with such a great energy. I think you can learn more in a couple of days at an event like Distill than you can in weeks of reading or watching videos or independent research. There's so much value in that human to human connection that you have with people that are doing other interesting things that are related to what you're doing.
Right. Now, I mean, you are a predominantly PHP developer, right? And Distill is, we don't call it polyglot, it's more language neutral. And I know last year there was a lot of people that took away just the ability to talk to people cross-language and cross-community was fantastic. So speaking of community, what is your favorite thing about the tech community in general?
It's always been the kind of a community that's open, and whether you're coming into it, with a master's degree in computer science from some prestigious university, or you're a person that just had a cheap computer as a kid and taught yourself how to code, you can make real contributions in this community. It's not a place where your pedigree matters so much as what you're willing to do and what you're willing to put out there. And when you combine that with a tech community that cares so much about sharing, obviously we spend a lot of our time kind of cloistered in corporate worlds where we're trying to make money and do all of these things, and yet so many of us make time to contribute back and help our fellow developers' lives be a little bit easier. So it's a really cool community where you feel part of it, even if you never meet the other people that are out there. Obviously, meeting them is wonderful, but it's so open and it's very inclusive.
All right, so we're going to move on to some quick fire questions. Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Chocolate.
Other than Distill, what is your favorite conference?
I would have to say probably PHP
Tech. Favorite soccer team?
Liverpool.
Who do you want to win the World Cup?
I'd like the U.S. to win. I was kind of expecting Spain to, but I was surprised that they kind of got shocked. So U.S. is still in it, so I got to be a homer and go for the U.S.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Favorite doctor?
I'm going to embarrass myself because I'm not a Doctor Who person.
Oh, okay. I'll ask another question. Favorite Batman character?
My favorite Batman character? Probably, so going back to the old series in the 60s, I would have to say it would be the Joker. Who was that? Caesar Romano's Joker?
Wrong. It's Batman. All right. So thank you for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we look forward to seeing you at Distill.
Great. I look forward to being there.